Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be going through a strategy talk around the midfield structure of AFL Fantasy and SuperCoach. They kind of have different approaches a little bit just based on the mechanics of the game, but in general they are pretty similar. So I thought I'd do a video just on how a lot of people are structuring up, what I think is a good idea, what I think is probably a little bit overkill, etc. So anyway, let's jump into the video here. So based on the midfield structure, and we just grab this up and I'll just do something that seems very obvious at this point in time. Let's just do team selected by, go to 900k, and then so you've got a lot of people doing something or other, like say this here. So you got the big three I've seen, or three guys up and around that million or more price tag, and then you'd have obviously a mid-pricer, etc., and then going down, but you'd have the big three, and then you'd probably have, if we look back at all prices, I hate how it's got that, and this is why it's probably a little bit easier to do it on the SuperCoach, but Clayton Oliver's seems to be the obvious mid-pricer. And then just looking down here, it looks like Will Day. We'll put Peatling in here because we can readjust, and then we'll go with the rookies here, which at the moment Josh Smiley seems like the most Jagger, obvious, that's not Smiley. They need to get the players. They've got some photos, but not obviously all of them. And then Draper, and then also Layla. So this seems like, and I will just grab another mid in terms of Josh Smiley down there. So Josh Smiley does have his photo, but in terms of structures, this seems like a very common structure, and I'm just going to find a sort of placeholder here in Caleb Daniel here, just so that it will showcase what I want it to showcase, I guess. I can probably actually just bring in the guy that I'll showcase when I want to. But anyway, this is a very, very common structure. You've got a Bontempelli who has the captaincy options against North, against some other teams as well. Gold Coast, Essendon as well. So probably some good captaincy options in the games that you've got no captaincy when you're non-looping, etc. So you got that. Nick Dacos is probably going to have, I would think, yeah, he's got some good captaincy runs in this sort of 8 to 10 in the back half of when we get out of all the buys. You got Rosie, who's got really good captaincy options as well through the first half of the year with 2, 3, 4 captaincy options, but then runs the double, comes up to a double tag, potentially even triple tag week. So that's kind of hard for him and Butters. And then you have Clayton Oliver, who is the common mid-pricer because we expect him to get 30, 35 points or so, depending on what you view. Plus 23 up to 100 is anything beyond that's a really, really good number. But he's got the North Melbourne, he's also got Geelong, he's got Richmond and the Eagles all in the first 8 weeks, which is 4 positive matchups. He could go 120 plus in each of those, and that kind of sets up his run, because that would mean that he can average 80 in the other 4 games of the year, and 4 games of the first 8, and he's still averaging 100, he's still going, and that would probably, I'm guessing, put him somewhere in the, that would put him probably somewhere in the 900, 950k range, I would think, after 8 games, and that would just be really, really huge. Will Day is definitely a guy that is considered by most, and that's probably, he's got the round 0 against Sydney, which is going to be a tough game. He's probably going to cop it from Sydney, from James Jordan, I suspect, so that could be a low game, but then he's got a pretty good run. He also has the offsetting bye as well, so he is a little bit easier to handle, but then he does have round 7 and 8. He does have the Eagles and Richmond, the reverse of, I believe, the Clayton Oliver, who has round 7 and 8, the Richmond and then the Eagles. So those two teams, they're probably where you're looking at in round 7 and 8 if you're not looking at the ruck for captaincy options. If you can find someone from the Hawks, if Will Day is the guy. Peatling's probably the obvious 600k that I've seen at the moment, because he's getting that on-ball role. It looks like if Rankin isn't fit, he's going to get it, but he should still get a pretty decent role, which is plus 30 upside. I feel like they're potentially maybe 25 or so, but Definitely in the first sort of 8 weeks, I could see him doing it because he's not going to get too much attention, and these are pretty soft matchups for the first 8 weeks. I would think St Kilda looks bottom 4, Essendon doesn't look like a top 8, North Melbourne doesn't look top 8. Gold Coast at Gold Coast is tough. And then you've got Geelong, who are pretty good for mids, and then he's got his former side there at home, and then by then you're starting to look at potentially upgrading him. I know that sounds crazy at this point, but he's the type of guy that you can upgrade early, or potentially even swing him into the back line and get that back line upgraded quickly, because we know the points genuinely from the rookies or underpriced guys come in the midfield area. And then obviously Jagger and Levi / Sid are probably the two obvious ones for rookies if you wanted to go on the field. And then Josh Smiley here, even though he's probably not, it sounds off and on if he's going to actually play. So having said that, I've also seen, and we'll use James Peatling as whether that be a 600, 700k guy, etc. Someone under the value of Oliver, but someone over the value of a Josh Smiley, or we'll get to the 400ks in a second. I've also seen something very similar to this. This could easily be something that I run, depending on the value that we find. Just because there is a lot of value in the rookies and these 400k guys that have been in the system a couple years. We'll get to those type of guys, the two in particular that I'm thinking of in a second. But a lot of people are putting high hopes on a lot of mid prices, and we know mid prices genuinely, there's probably a lot more hype than actually what they're going to produce. Doherty shouldn't be hyped as much as I believe he is at the moment. If we go to Doc, how much is he? He's 15% owned. He's playing a wing role. Wing roles generally don't score well. So there's a lot of guys that will play part-time wing that probably need to get moved on and trades corrected very easily. So even Peatling falls under that to a certain extent if the team lists are what I think they could be. So he could be a correction trade in the first couple of weeks. But he looks to be the best of the 600Ks, but you can obviously readjust to Hollands and Windsor, etc. Windsor's actually, I think, slightly injured at the moment with an infection in the foot. So there's that. But Peatling, Hollands, Windsor, etc. They're all in that sort of category of 600k guys that you can run at M5. And I think that spending money elsewhere is actually more viable because the rookies drop off very, very quickly in terms of the other lines. I really want to find a solution to have Travalia at D6 and not anywhere up the line, because there's not many rookies that I like in the back line that could debut early, especially if we don't get Saad Al-Houli. In the forward line, there's not many guys that I like, and I do not really want to have more than potentially one small forward Kako type that's not going to get midfield time, if you understand that. So that's where I'm really looking at this midfield, this forward line going. I really want to have almost Elijah Hewitt at F6. So if you have Elijah Hewitt and Toby Travalia, you're going to probably have to spend a little bit lighter on the midfield. So that's where you get the 3 rookie midfield line there. And that's why Jagger Smith and Levi Ashcroft are in contention. Obviously, you'd have a Sam Layla potentially in there. And so the real discussion now becomes, do you want to have a Sam Layla? And for the argument's sake, I'm going to just bring up a Sheldrick here into the onto the field here for the discussion about this. Is basically, do you want, and I'll move him up here so that we can get it. Do you want a Sam Layla, a rookie here? Or does Angus Sheldrick get that on-ball role that we know we can average 80, 85? Because if Sheldrick gets the on-ball role, he's going to average 85. Is that going to be, or he can average that? We've seen it before. If we just look at this. And then I'll move over to SuperCoach in a second here and almost rediscuss it because it is different. But let's just flick this over to Sheldrick for a second here. And you'll see what I'm talking about here with Sheldrick when he plays on ball in that. And this is the type of role that I think he gets at Sydney. Maybe a little bit more tog, but he gets a similar-ish role of around 30 to 40% if he plays. If he plays 82.2, and he is priced at, if we go back here, he's priced at 44. That's plus 38. Plus 38. He plays the Lions in round 1, which we've already seen him do. He plays the Hawks as well, which he hasn't done yet. And and so he's played most teams once or a couple teams once. He hasn't actually really played. I think he's played 9 games. But he's got this really kindish run, actually, I think, for sort of third, fourth midfielders, because he'll probably be the fourth, if not fifth midfielder for Sydney. He's got a pretty kind run to start, to be honest with you. Average 82 here, you can see there's not many games that he actually plays against. They actually play West Coast in round 24 for the first time, where he scored a 111. But I just genuinely think that if he does play, him or Nevitt, can provide probably a little bit more security in terms of, I guess, the floor of scoring, because they're going to be a little bit more physically built than these rookies that... and also, these guys generally in second or third year, the rookies get flung around a little bit in terms of where they want to play, because sometimes you're just trying to get them on the field and get them into sort of a rhythm of playing week in, week out at senior level. So guys like Layla, Levi Ashcroft even, and some other guys there, they've been touted as playing at sort of that half-forward flank. If Murphy Reid gets a go, that's where I think he plays, etc. Potentially they play at half-back, but we've also seen those type of roles for rookies, they could only average 50, 60, 70 points. Like Will Ashcroft, who was absolutely on fire in his rookie year, I think averaged 82 as an on-baller or something or other of that magnitude. That's sort of the best case scenario. And that's why I almost want I want one of these second or third or fourth year players, because they're genuinely going to probably stand up better to the rigor of senior footy. And so I think they present almost more value, and I think they're being slept on a little bit for these 600Ks. These guys that are 20 points more value, playing almost a similar role. Like Peatling, if Peatling plays for Adelaide in an on-ball capacity, he's behind probably Dawson, Crouch, and not Soligo, but let's actually Adelaide Crows squad. Let's look at the Adelaide Crows squad and let's look at the team here. He's probably behind, I would say, Matt Crouch, 1, Jordan Dawson, 2, potentially Soligo, or playing a similar role to Soligo, which puts him at like 2.5, Rankin 3.5, so he's already down at that sort of third midfielder role. Sid Draper's going to share some time as well, so you could almost say 4, and Isaac coming a little bit as well, but Isaac coming at spec off halfback more so than not. But he's already the 4th-ish midfielder, whereas Nevitt and Sheldrick are going to be that same role, but are 180, 190k cheaper. So that's why I'm saying that these guys are almost slept on. Like we looked at Will Day there, he was at 760k. That's an extra like 30 something points of value. 30 points break even higher that Sheldrick doesn't have to do compared to Will Day. Sheldrick can go 70, which is the same value as Will Day going 100. Angus Sheldrick, a 4th-year player who's averaged 82 in the same role, him averaging 82, and I know that there's difference because Will Day will be averaging 100, etc. But to get the same exact value, Angus Sheldrick has to go... Will Day has to go 112. That's why I think these guys are slept on, because it's more realistic for Will Day to go 95, which 21 points of value is Angus Sheldrick 65. And you can effectively spread that cash out on the rest of the field and still get the value there. And the value is almost going to come back to you, I feel like, in more, and it's not going to be seen on field. It's going to be seen in these sort of rookie selection spots, potentially somewhere else, where instead of you having to go, say, a Hutchinson or someone like that, you're going up to the big guns there and getting the points on field there, but you're also saving a slot and getting those, potentially some people are playing like a Curtin on field at F6, whereas you've got someone else here, Curtin potentially on the bench and something like that, so you're saving scores there. That's why I think it's such a interesting sort of discussion, especially in the midfield, is trying to almost save cash in positions, because having something like this, you've got potential scorers, you've also got really good, you get the best rookie scorers on the bench, because in all honesty, I know that we talk a lot about these rookies here on the midfield bench, but let's be real here when talking about the midfielders and their price point. Charleston's been impressing, but you can have him as a forward. McTool, you can have him as a forward. Clay Hall, don't expect him to really play in a promising position, or at least not for that long. Murphy Reed doesn't even look like he's going to get games. Tom Gross could, but that's a bit part role anyway. And you're looking at guys here already 1% owned. That just because there's no one in here. And then we look at the 300Kers. Kako, you can have a forward. Harvey Langford, yeah, but you can also have him instead of Josh Smiley, who looks injured anyway, or potentially going to be sort of weathered through. Finn O'Sullivan looks like a wing role, which is all right, but not perfect. You probably want the on-ballers. Lombard has that extra early bye, which is kind of tough, but he does have some decent matchups in round 0 and 1, so could get the cash gen started and then move him quickly. Xavier Lindsay's been dealing with injuries, but looks like he's back on the park. But you're already starting to get to guys that no one really looks at and is valuing anyway, in the 300K range there. So, like, you're already looking at guys that don't have the perfect role realistically. So that's why I think that getting this midfield structure right is critical here at the moment, and that's why I'm considering very strongly something like this. Because at the moment, I don't know what I'm going to do with the backline. The backline is very much up in the air. It could be Sheasel, Dale, Short. Mills is definitely in there. There's more scope for probably a Roberts now after everything. Obviously, with no Kitty Coleman, that D5 slot, I don't really want it to be, as I said, Travalia. So you're probably going to have to spend up more in the backline, and that's why I like this more, because instead of having a key defender on the bench, which is really not warranted, not what we want, I will spend up so that I can have the same amount of value in terms of points above their price point, but I can have the better bench players, like hopefully we get and I'm just going to show this for a second here. Hopefully we can get Bo Allen and potentially a Sado Hooley or James Leake. Like, if we don't get Sado Hooley, which we could not, he might just play a wing role, which could easily just go down here as well. But if we don't get that and we get Bo Allen and James Leake, then I'm happy. Or potentially I hold on to James Leake. Maybe he doesn't play. So I've got basically 3 options, and I feel like there's only going to be really 2. And I don't really think we get anyone else here. I don't even want a Buzzlinger who's playing a key defense, even though he's a good distributor, because he's a key defender. He might only average like 50, and that's not really much. So there's that. You may get Caleb Smith, but it looks like he's been sort of tempered down a little bit in what we're going to get there, etc. So that's why I'm looking mostly at these 400k guys and going, they could be massive, massive look-in, because it saves us money, and it saves us basically the Sheldrick enables us to go from what people have in Kitty Coleman, what they had in Kitty Coleman, straight up to a Roberts. That's effectively the value that you're saving there in terms of not having a Will Day or a Doherty or something like that. And that's where I think it could go. It could go well for those people that go potentially a Sheasel, Wanganeen, Malira, Short, Roberts, Mills, Travalia type backline. That's something I'm strongly considering at the moment. I just need to think of if there's any value there. But that's the reason behind it, that I can do that with the structure that I was considering, even though I haven't done the nuts and bolts of it, is because of this M6 being fourth, third year rookie, effectively, almost a just over rookie price player, that should get a starting role, because we expect at least one of them to. So anyway, having said that, let's move over to SuperCoach, and the same system sort of applies here. If we go to the midfielders, most people are going to start with that there, and then I would think probably most people are doing something like this, and then where is he? I need to scroll down a little bit. Let's actually just do ownership, because it'll be a lot easier. Is there a way to sort of take out? No, there isn't. But anyway, I will take out the rookies for the second here, just to get to Clayton Oliver. And then also we will talk about, I guess, James Peatling as well needs discussion. And then you get the top end rookies, which I'll just jump to here. Jagger, where is the next one? Levi, and then you've got Draper, Layla, Smiley, Svetcher, Langford, and then you can sort of talk about Sardis. I guess Sardis sort of falls under this category in SuperCoach as well. as well as Langford and Mitch Nevitt, as well as Sheldrick and Mitch Nevitt, who are actually much cheaper in SuperCoach than they are in Fantasy. So it kind of is a little bit different, but same principle applies, I guess, in a sense there, that you can probably go with the three sort of rookie slash young slash the third, fourth year players that are going to really probably do even better than these sort of first years that have changing positions. Such as I'd probably want Sardis over Smiley. I'd probably want even the likes of Angus Sheldrick over a Layla, because we've seen what he can do. If we go back to Sheldrick and apply that same principle that we were talking about with his form in 2023, and we look at it in SuperCoach terms here, you'll see he averaged 80 from 5 games. If you apply that, I do not think a Layla is going to go in 80. I would be very surprised if he does, especially off the back of half a preseason almost. And other guys there, it's very rare for rookies to go 80. To be honest with you, what did Reed go? What did Reed do? I've got him out of the price range, but Reed went at 80.5, and he was a really gun SuperCoach player in terms of last year. If we look at the Ashcroft other brother, if we look at Will here and just look at his season last year, a couple of years ago, he went 85. So those are the top end guys, the absolute cream of the crop, just going at 80, 85. So what is an actual sort of guy that's that next tier down or so going to do? Are they going to go that 70, 75? Or is there someone like a Angus Sheldrick going to get an even better role and go even better? Because these guys aren't going to get as good a role as, like, Levi's not going to probably get as good as role as his brother did in his rookie year and Will. So you've got that as well. So talking about this in terms of SuperCoach, Butters, Brayshaw, Oliver is sort of a common thread, if not including Sarong in the top echelon there. So that's sort of a very common top 4, And then you've got Peatling at M5. I think that's a very common starting squad. It could change based on, I haven't actually looked at how this ranks up with the defenders. I know in Fantasy it looks up pretty well. But in SuperCoach, with the changes in pricing, I need to just double check that. But I don't know how it stacks up in terms of the new defender layout, because I haven't basically done one without Kitty Coleman there, and with the sort of Roberts Mills sort of connection there in that back line. So you've got that, and then you've got Jagger, Ashcroft, Draper, and then you probably, I think most teams will run something like this. I think this will be a very we'll go here. We'll go Nevitt. We'll show Nevitt off. Here, I think this will be a very common midfield 11, 12. I think this will be a very common 12 because we've seen Peatling getting runs in the on-ball. Jagger Smith looks all but locked. Levi, we'll see if he gets named, but if he gets named, I think a lot of people will go to it. And so I genuinely think this will probably be that'll be very common midfield 12, with those guys on field in Butters, Brayshaw, Oliver, Peatling, Jagger Smith, Nevitt, and Sid Draper. And then having the bench of Layla, Ashcroft, Langford, and Silas, potentially even saving some more cash from ingoing Sheldrick, because he'll get the earlier cash generation than a Nevitt. But you just have to be a little bit careful with Nevitt and Sheldrick. But that's only 2 guys there on that round 3 buy, so you'd still have the covering of the exact same price rookie guys, so it's not really much of a difference. It's in the back line that with Mills, Roberts, etc., Perryman, that you could get stung there a little bit. But I think it's a very similar structure. Obviously with Nevitt and Sheldrick, they're much more rookie priced, and Sardis to that extent are much more rookie priced in SuperCoach than they are in Fantasy. So that's a much more bigger plus, because you can run that more experienced guy, that second, third, fourth year guy, that's going to probably get more midfield minutes or a similar midfield minutes, but have more not wear and tear, but more ability to cop wear and tear, I guess, in their body. Comparative to the rookies here, who some of them are coming off half a preseason or a managed preseason, whereas a lot of the guys like Sheldrick and Sardis are absolutely ripping this track to shreds. So that's why I'm more inclined to go with these guys, because I feel like it's a much more safer value, especially because Jagger, we don't know if he's going to play. Well, he should play on ball, but what percentage is it going to be? Is it going to be 20, 30, 40%, or is it going to be more than that? Because if Sheldrick plays, he's going to get that 40, 45% midfield time, I would expect, because a lot of these guys are a lot more versatile than a lot of these second, third, fourth year midfielders, so that's what I also think as well. But anyway, I think that's enough said on this video about the sort of structure of the midfield. I think it's the most key structure across Fantasy and SuperCoach itself. So if you guys did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.